Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited tonight. One of my favorite wrestlers to watch, a true pro wrestler in every sense of the word, the one and only Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson. TJ, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure, Mike. Thanks a lot for having me on here.
Well, I probably should have told you this before I hit record. There's so much meat on the bone for your story. I might need you here to like Labor Day. I hope you have nothing planned for the next foreseeable future, because
yeah.
I have a lot to go over with you.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So honestly, I was watching some of your YouTube interviews earlier today. I really wanted to figure out what to ask you in the best use of our time. I found out you guys, you and Teddy Hart were elementary school friends, correct?
Yeah.
What was it like for Teddy to be in school, being the wrestler kid? Was there any kind of like pressures from the other kids? Did he have to defend wrestling? How'd that work for him?
Yeah, so you know what's funny? That's a great question. I don't know that he had to defend wrestling early on when we were kids. I think it was at first, especially at first, it was the cool thing. It was like, I remember kind of the whispers of like, oh, and I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling prior to meeting Ted. I'd watched some wrestling. My older cousin introduced me to it. I tried some of the moves on my sisters at home, and my mom quickly banned wrestling in our house, which I understood. I had Ninja Turtles still, so I wasn't gonna fight for it.
Nice.
It was so new to me. I really enjoyed what I saw, but I didn't have the opportunity to really fall in love yet with my mom. So anyway, when Teddy comes to my school, I was there first. He like the whispers of like Bret Hart's nephew, and you know, even though I hadn't been bitten yet, obviously I live in Calgary. I know who Bret Hart is. So like that was at first it was like, and I say at first, honestly, I remember getting in fights a little bit later on in junior high, defending wrestling, but at first. I don't know why I keep saying it first. Really, no. It was always kind of this commodity. Funny enough, there is a funny story. I think we're like maybe 11 or 12 and some kind of weird altercation in the local neighborhood. And I remember maybe Teddy was going to get in a fight with a guy. Can't remember if it was Teddy or a friend of ours. Anyway, this guy was in his house, and one of his friends like kind of came out and was like, "Hey, I don't think you guys should fight this guy." And then it was like, well, why? And he was like, so this guy was talking about his friend, not Teddy. He said, because that guy's uncle is the British Bulldog, which was like so funny and comical of like all the guys you could pick in the whole world. That's Teddy's uncle. Like what? you picked the wrong person to lie about. It's very funny.
Awesome.
It's very comical.
That's great.
Fighting up like there was no fight, but it like that almost like literally eased all whatever tension was. I don't remember, you know, we're kids. It's probably over absolutely nothing, but whatever tension there was like dissipated from like that lie, because it just was so comical to us. So honestly, like I said, like that guy used a lie as an excuse to like sound cool and get it. So in Calgary, at least, like I said, I got in a fight at school defending it one time, but that was later. That was like in 9th grade. But really not really. It was kind of looked at as very cool that he was a member of the family.
You said I didn't get the bug yet. I didn't get the wrestling bug yet. When did you? For me, I was in 7th grade. Macho Man Randy Savage came off the top rope on Ricky Steamboat, broke his larynx. I was hooked. That was my, from casual fan to this is the greatest thing ever. What was it for you?
Mine, and it obviously sounds so biased, you know, with my history and stuff, but definitely like the moment of like, I kind of got bit by both at the same time, kind of like fell in love with it as a fan, but then at the exact same time, I don't know, the 12-year-old in me just like knew this is what I was going to do. And it's SummerSlam 92, Brett versus Davey Boy. And I remember like, because I started being around Ted quite a bit in 1990, the fall in 90. And Survivor Series at that time was like on a Wednesday. Like in Canada, our Thanksgiving's October, so like I didn't understand the Survivor Series was in November and it's on Thanksgiving Eve, and I was like, Thanksgiving was last month. I learned American Thanksgiving, but anyway, I didn't watch that pay-per-view that year with him because it was on a Wednesday. Anyway, I think SummerSlam '92 might be the first pay-per-view I watched in real time, like live. So I enjoyed wrestling. I got kind of a crash course from like the fall of 1990 until the summer of '92 of like being around Teddy and his family, and every Saturday just watching wrestling and picking it up. And it got unbanned in my house, luckily. And yeah, man, it was SummerSlam '92 that like, and it was that Brett versus Davey that like literally I bet really hard, obviously.
Wow. Now, were you able to like hang out with Brett, hang out with Davey? Did you get to know these guys when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I didn't meet Brett till a little bit later. I think his schedule was just like that crazy. He never was. At that time, I didn't like. I started going to Sunday dinners, and I didn't see him yet. I remember vividly Teddy calling me and saying, "Hey, you should come to Sunday dinner tonight. Brett's going to be there." And then I remember having to take like 2 or 3 public transit buses to get there. And Brett and I have a funny story about that first encounter. Not the first time I meet him, but that first day, we get into a little bit of an argument with his son, Dallas, earlier. Like I met Brett. Now we kind of I met Dallas a few times. I knew Dallas prior to this. We got into an argument with Dallas, and then to the point of like the first time that it's a funny story, but the first time I meet Brett, he actually told me off. Yeah. So our relationship now is very much the opposite of that from I think I met him in 92 or 3. He's the WWF champion at the time. I might have met him. It might have been it might have been 94. I might not have met him till 90. It took me a while to meet Brett. I think 92, honestly, but yeah, I remember getting told off by him, and rightfully so. That's the best part. It was deserved, and it was a hell of a way to meet Brett. But Davey, Jim, they lived in Florida at that time. I met Davey actually just prior to him moving to Florida, and then they moved. They lived in Florida. Davey and Harry and Vanna and Georgia. And Jim lived in Florida too. So I would see them when there would be live events in Calgary. And then, or they'd come up in the summertime. Davey would come up, he was on the road, but Davey, Diana, Harry, and Georgia would come up for the summer, and Davey would be on the road, but he kept coming back to Calgary from the road. So that was where I got to spend time with him. Owen, same thing. I would see them around. And then as I start spending more time at Ted's parents, which they owned a gym, so they lived above it in these living quarters, but their house was a gym. So I would start seeing like Owen there and Davey and Jim, and then later Brett.
What were your initial impressions of Stu?
So my initial impressions, I grew up without a father. I grew up with my mom and my 2 sisters. So I was always very intimidated by like my friends' dads and stuff like that growing up. And Stu was no different. Meeting him was no different. I was very intimidated. He is like the most generous man ever, but also a very tough guy. First thing, he's funny. You see him even at that age, like in his late 70s, and mid 70s, I probably met him. But even meet him, like he had like these it's the most friendly looking eyes, but then like you look at his hands and they're like so thick, and like you could just tell they're so strong. And he had that gruff voice. He was very intimidating to me. But he wasn't. That was just my take on him. He wasn't trying to be. He was very, very friendly, very friendly. I got invited up to a Sunday dinner, which I thought was like such a cool honor. And then like, I kind of got snowballed in, and eventually like there just was no invite. It just was like it just almost was expected. And I'm eternally grateful for all of that time that I spent there. Stu was very good to me, but I first initially meeting him and not knowing him personally, but knowing of him, he was intimidating and scary.